Rodney here. Hey, so working on my RV, and I found something that should anger any man. And I'm going to call out a specific business in this conversation because what they did was blatantly and patently wrong. So let me first show you what I'm dealing with. I had air conditioning freezing up on my coach, and what would happen is, it would run for a while, but if you really, well, standard thing, right? If you had low flow on the fan and you let it run for very long, it'd freeze up the evaporator. And so, well, you got low Freon, right? And so, whatever. So I went and worked on Freon, put some Freon in there. Turns out I overcharged it. But I went back to say, okay, how should this thing run? Air conditioning systems should all have a little thermostat that turns the compressor off if the evaporator starts to freeze, right? So why did that not happen, right? So let me show you what we have here. Where'd it go? Here's the old one. Here's a thermostat. That's what it looks like. This one came off of my Ford F53, and this little capillary sticks in this box here. You can see the new one is going in right here. It goes in this box about 3 or 4 inches. The heat exchanger is on the other side of this plastic wall, and when that heat exchanger gets down to 31, this switch turns off. So this is the electrical connections for the switch. They tell the compressor, hey, it basically turns it off, turns the clutch off. So, but there's another switch over here. If you come down here, this switch is on the high pressure side. It's an overpressure switch. If the pressure gets too high on the high pressure side, in order to protect the system, it's like 300 or 400 pounds. It's pretty high. But then you come through this wire. And what's interesting is you follow this wire. So it's wired in series. I don't know how Ford designed it. I just know what it was when I got into here. So just trust me, if you follow these wires, it's wired in series with this one. So either the low temperature switch or the high pressure switch will secure the compressor. Makes perfect sense. So now, let me get to look you straight in the eye and tell you this. There's a place on Route 1 in Stafford County called Campers Inn. It's where I bought this unit. In fact, it's where I bought that unit too. So anyway, I bought it there. And when I bought it, I did the test drive and I was futzing with it, and hey, the air conditioning wasn't blowing cold. And I said, you know what? I'm not going to take this thing home without the air conditioning blowing cold. A used thing, they got it on a trade-in, they're trying to just dump it, put it on the market, fairly low price, I got a good deal on it. But I'm like, you know what? We're gonna have cold air. And so they gave me some hand-wavy argument about getting it fixed, taking it to the dealer and all that. So anyway, I come back a few days later, like, hey, we've got it blowing cold, right? So you know what they did to get it blowing cold? I go back to the switch I just replaced. Where'd I show it to you? Threw it on the ground somewhere. Where the hell did it go? Anyway, so I replaced this thermostat, right? Because what was happening when they had the unit traded into them, this thermostat was failed, and it was failed open. So the compressor would never run in this situation. Therefore, it was never compressing, and I was never getting any cold air. Makes sense. So what those SOBs did, and you see my tape here, they took, and there's the remnants of it right here, they took this little job. I don't know if you've ever seen one of these, but you can basically splice into an existing line. It puts this little metal job into 2 wires that are right next to each other, and splices them together. So those rat bastards took these 2 lines and spliced them together. Therefore, they basically bypassed this switch, and so no matter what was happening, the compressor would not turn off on low temperature, right? They basically overrode that switch. So, Campers Inn, Route 1, Stafford. Highly recommend avoiding them for anything used. They probably have good enough new RV coaches, but this is absolutely broken. And anyway, I'd like to throw a shout out to Tyler at O'Reilly's Auto Parts on Route 17 at Bojangles Way, right next to Lowe's. He is certified in air conditioning, and he was able to validate some of the research I was doing using the internet on what my problem is. And also, O'Reilly's hooked me up with a vacuum pump. I'm going to put a whole new charge in this thing. So I got a vacuum pump, and I got the pressure gauge set on a tool loan program. so it's going to be no cost to me. And thanks for listening.